5 seconds. Okay, hello everyone. We are on Java User Group Ukraine meeting, and we are one day before Java Day Kiev session conference, and today we will have one of the best Java EE speakers and experts in Java EE today on our JUG meeting, and they will tell you about the future of Java EE. I know that this question is very important now for you. These guys were at Java 1 and could tell you about what Oracle planned to do with Java 8, and also you can ask them different questions related with Java EE. Also, if you would like, if you are watching us online, you could tweet. You could tweet with those hashtags, and I will check it periodically and try to translate your questions to our speakers. So today we will have Raza and Ivar. And I will give you the word to our speakers. Thanks.
Okay, let me just test my microphone. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Is it coming through? Okay, it's fine. Please.
Okay, so I'll just introduce myself briefly. My name is Ivar Grimstad. I'm Norwegian, but I live and work in Sweden. I'm a member of a couple of expert groups for Java EE. We're going to talk about some of them today. And also is a JUG leader for the Malmö JUG in Sweden. We're not as many as you are here, maybe half as many on our meetings. But it's really cool to be here, and I'm looking forward to this session and the sessions we're going to have tomorrow and on Saturday at Java Day as well. Unfortunately, today I have to go at 8 o'clock. So any questions to me needs to be posted before 8 o'clock, because I am running for a associate seat for the executive committee for in the Java community process. And that's the committee for the guys defining the future of Java. So if you are an associate member, you know who to vote for, right? So I have to go to a meeting afterwards, but I'll be back here directly after the meeting. So, Raza.
Okay, so before I get started, I'm just curious, how many people are going to Java Day? Okay, few. All right, no problem. We will give you the best sessions in Java Day, yes? In 2 hours, we will try. Okay, so my name is Raza Rahman. I used to be the Java EE evangelist at Oracle. I've been a consultant for a long time. I'm an American. I'm trying my best to look Ukrainian and try to fool you. And I've been involved in Java EE for a very long time. I've been using it since J2E 1.4. I was involved in the expert groups for E5, E6, E7 before I joined Oracle, and now I've rejoined sort of the community and have rejoined Java EE 8. So what is the talk today about? The talk today is really about a little bit of Java EE overview. I think some of you may need that. But for the most part, we'll be focusing on exactly what is in technical details of what is in Java EE 8, also a little bit about Java EE 9, and generally talking about status. So one of the things I'd like to do is, the different thing you can do at a Java user group than a conference session is that it can be far more interactive because it's a smaller group. So whatever questions you have, don't wait to don't wait for us to stop or at the end of the session or anything else like that. It's very interactive. So if you have a question, please raise your hand and let's discuss that question right away. Okay.
That's a very good thing, and I usually say that if we don't get past this slide, it's a success.
It's a success.
So
indeed,
if you ask so many questions that we run out of time and never get past this slide, it's okay. And to motivate you a little bit, we have some swag. So the first guys who asked the question, I think we have 10 USB sticks there. The 10 first guys asking a question will get a USB drive, and we have some mystery box here with some nice stuff into it.
Yep. And this is by the way, this is the last of the NetBeans shirt under Oracle. Okay. because now NetBeans is moving to Apache. So this after that, if there's any T-shirts, it may be Apache NetBeans T-shirts. So last Oracle NetBeans T-shirts. I think this is something you should have.
So ask questions and it's yours.
Yeah. And also, you know, I have these Java 20-year stickers. They're free. You know, they're over there with the cookies if you want to pick one up. I have one on my laptop. So, all right, enough of that. So I think let's move in. Anything else, Ivar? All right, let's move into the talk. And what is going on with the talk? Hold on a second, please. Okay, much better. Okay, so before we move too far into the future, I would like to spend a little bit of time, not too much time, talking about the past. Okay, I think this is important, especially if you haven't been doing Java EE development like a lot of people, and only have been, you know, sort of keeping in touch with Java EE. It's important to have some historical perspective. Java EE, as you know, is not new. Just like Java, it is very, very old. In fact, Java started in 1995. Java EE started in 1997, so only 2 years younger than Java itself. I think of the Java EE lifecycle in different phases. Okay, so just like we have different phases in our life, Java EE, I think, has gone through different phases in its life. So first, I would say is the J2E era, right? J2E 1.4 and prior. Whatever you may think of this era, this is the era that has made us. Okay, if Sun Microsystems at that point in time with J2E was trying to define server-side Java. Okay, at that point in time there was no server-side Java. Java was a thing on the client side. So whatever success or failure of J2E, it established Java on the server side, and that's why we're all here today talking about Java. Of course, it had technical problems. Okay, the principal reason these technical problems existed was because Sun Microsystems at the time was trying to compete in terms of time to market. Okay, so when you compete with time to market, well, features become important and usability become less important. And obviously that was pretty obvious for anyone who developed J2E 1.4. In fact, to be fair, you know, anyone that was developing on the Microsoft side of the house with COM and DCOM, it's the same story. Their usability was not that great either. But the big differential in the Java side was actually open source, and specifically the open sourcing of Tomcat. Anyone know where Tomcat came from? Who was the original developer of Tomcat? Sun Microsystems was the original developer of Tomcat. Okay, so the big differential was Sun Microsystems' decision to open source Tomcat, and that sort of created an alternate ecosystem besides the official standards. Okay, so you had, you know, things like Spring and Hibernate because of that fact. And of course, Spring and Hibernate, what they did was they basically took the concepts of J2E and added usability to it, and added one important important feature in particular, and that is dependency injection, and in case of Hibernate, just POJO-based ORM. Okay, but the nice thing, the beautiful thing about Java EE is it's not a closed ecosystem. So there's a back and forth. Right? There's two different mechanisms that live and breathe from each other. There's official standards, and then everything that builds upon the standards, a lot of it in open source. And each of these groups borrow from each other, okay, and strengthen each other incrementally. And I think that's a very good thing. So what happened that's precisely what happened in Java EE 5. Okay, so Java EE 5 adopted a simplistic concept of dependency injection, but it also actually contributed quite a bit to the ecosystem, and most people actually don't realize this. But in Java EE 5, there's two principal innovations. Sorry. So the innovations that came from the Java open source ecosystem was dependency injection and POJO programming. Okay, and that's legitimate. But Java EE 5 actually contributed back quite a bit, and we are still benefiting from that. The two principal thing that was introduced in Java EE 5 as real innovations was one, the mainstream usage of annotations as metadata. Okay, this was first done in EJB 3.0, even before JUnit or anything else like that, right? And that is what was a proving ground of using annotations for attribute-based programming in Java. Okay, so that is still something that came out of Java EE 5. The other very, very important thing that came out of Java EE 5 was convention over configuration. Okay, so to me, I think, you know, to most of us that have been in Java EE ecosystem, well, now people talk about, okay, we've gone away with configuration and we have zero configuration systems. Well, guess what? If you're doing Java EE development, you had that since Java EE 5. Okay, so those are the important innovations there besides the APIs, right? So the APIs are EJB3, JPA, JSF, and so on. Now comes Java EE 6. I actually was very worried about in the Java EE 5 time frame as to what was going to happen, but I wound up actually adopting and writing a few Java EE 5 systems. But there was one big problem, and the big problem was on almost all of my Java EE 5 products. I always wound up using Seam. Why is that? The reason I used Seam was because Java EE 5 lacked sort of a very generic dependency injection mechanism, and that's what Seam gave you. So that was a gap that was closed in Java EE 6. Okay, in Java EE 6, basically dependency injection became a first-class standard through CDI. Okay, Gavin King took his ideas in Seam and baked it into CDI. Many people consider Java EE 6 sort of the first feature complete version of Java EE, and in fact I saw this myself as well. This is when you really saw adoptions picking up again. There was a big adoption during this era, and then again a rise in Java EE adoption during this era. Now there was a few other API changes which we won't talk about quite a lot. Okay, so JAX-RS was introduced, Bean validation was introduced, and the like. But the other important thing that actually happened is to break up the Java EE APIs into two different profiles. Okay, one is a full platform, so that is everything that is Java EE, and the other is a smaller platform called the web profile. What is the point of this? The point of this was to actually give you the basic API set similar to what you would have in Ruby on Rails. And what is that? It's basically just CRUD applications. Okay, writing an application where you just have a web front end and you have a RDMS backend. That's it. Okay, if you look at Node.js today, that's basically the basic API set is the very same as the web profile. Okay, so that was the idea there, and that actually enabled quite a bit of innovation that we're benefiting from now. So that created WebSphere Liberty Profile. Okay, that enabled the creation of WebSphere Liberty Profile, which whatever you think of WebSphere, it's actually a very, very nice implementation. If you haven't checked it out yet, you should check it out. The other nice thing that came out of this web profile effort was Tom EE. Okay, so how many people have heard of Tom EE? Okay, a few. All right, for those of you who haven't heard it, basically Tom EE is Tomcat fitted to Java EE. Okay, it's just taking plain Tomcat and then adding just a few APIs, enough APIs to make it Java EE web profile compliant, and it's actually one of the finest implementations of Java EE that you have today. Now in Java EE 7, I was in Oracle at this point in time. What happened there? So in my mind, Java EE 7 was an opportunity to strengthen the community and strengthen the API set. Okay, so that's basically what happened here. There's three separate themes to Java EE 7. One is developer productivity. What does that mean? It means all of the innovations that happened in Java EE 5 and Java EE 6, making sure that those innovations are throughout the platform. Okay, and the big example of that is JMS 2.0. All right, JMS 2.0 didn't actually go through sort of a revolution in its API set before Java EE 5. Okay, that was one of those pieces, and in fact it was one of the last missing pieces. The other thing that happened was alignment with HTML web standards. Okay, at this point in time, believe it or not, the big innovations in web standards happened in this era. Okay, so during all of this time, the web standards were basically static. There was nothing going on. Okay, but finally in Java EE 7, there's some real innovations in the web standards world that we could pull in. So these are things like WebSocket. Okay, standardized version of JSON. How many people know JSON is actually a standard? Okay, good. Yeah, JSON is actually a standard. So that enables Java EE to define JSON support officially. Okay, because it is also a standard. Some things like changes in the changes that happened in JAX-RS 2.0. Okay, these are also aligned with sort of web standard things that are going on in the web standard world. The other thing, of course, is enterprise features. Okay, what does enterprises need? And one of the big examples of that is concurrency utilities, a batch API, and so on. So beyond this very basic overview, I actually won't talk about Java EE 7 very much, or these features very much. So if you have any questions on any of this, please let me know. Otherwise, we're going to move into sort of more forward-looking future things and not talk about the past as much. But I figured, given this audience, it would be valuable to talk about the past. Yes, sir. Okay, so yeah, Java EE is an old standard. That means that at some point in time, you're going to introduce things that no longer make any sense. Okay, let's take a look at JAX RPC as an example. Okay, JAX RPC was introduced in J2E 1.4. All right, it is no longer relevant because it has been superseded by JAX WS. Okay, so the stuff that is crossed out is stuff that we gradually need to deprecate out of the standard. Okay, so we're saying this is no longer necessary, make it optional. So I think as we go forward, this is a healthy part of Java EE that we must continue, right, is getting rid of the old stuff to keep the platform lean and easier to implement. Okay. All right, anything else? Any other questions? No? Okay.
I'd like to comment here. And one thing Raza said here is that the developer productivity was one of the key elements of Java EE 7. And you can see that in how well aligned all the APIs are. I mean, you can anywhere in the application just hook in some bean validation mechanism. You don't need to configure it. It's just there, and it works across the platform. And you have injection everywhere. You don't need to configure it. Like in Spring, for example, you need to tell the system that you're actually using validation here. But in Java EE, it's just there. So developer productivity was, I saw on my product that the developers there are so much more focused on just doing the business functionality and not doing configuration and reading XML files. It's just down to business. Yep.
I mean, if you want to see that firsthand, frankly, go check out some of Adam Bean's videos. He does a really nice job of showcasing, how easy to use and really almost near to zero configuration Java EE has always been. Okay, since Java EE 5. This is not something new. Okay, it's been almost 10 years, that this has been true of Java EE. Okay. Anything else? Moving forward? Yes, that's okay? All right, moving forward. Okay, so whenever we talk about Java EE, the first thing that I often hear about, principally from like people in their 40s, is Java EE. Is it relevant? Well, the answer is yes. It's very, very relevant. So whenever we, beyond all the sort of flame wars and bad mouthing and all of that, the reality is whenever we do surveys and ask people the question, well, what do you actually use? Okay, it always turns out that they are using they say they are using Java EE. Okay, and often they are saying they are using Java EE more than Spring. So what on earth is going on here? Okay, here's what's going on. Do I think there's actually more vanilla Java EE applications than Spring applications? No, I don't think so. Okay, what is happening is that Spring actually depends on a lot of Java EE APIs. Okay, so at the end of the day, you're not a Spring developer and you're not a Java EE developer. You're something in the middle. So that's why Java EE continues to be very relevant. And in fact, did you read the latest survey that Zero Turnaround put out? So it was framed as Spring versus Java EE survey. Did you read the results of that yet?
No, I can't remember.
No. Okay. So the last slide was very interesting to me because it asked the question, okay, what are you moving from? Right? Are you moving from Spring to Java EE, or are you moving from Java EE to Spring? What do you think the answer? What do you think the results would be? Yeah. Well, actually, it's the reverse, right? I know that's what you would have thought. But in that survey, what it shows is that all 50% of developers are not interested in moving. Okay, they're just, whatever it is that they're using, they just want to continue using that. And I see that all the time. 13% said that they are moving from Java EE to Spring. And guess what? The rest of the 27% said they are moving from Spring to Java EE. Okay, so it's something to think about. Java EE is, whatever you may think, it's actually very, very relevant. Whatever flavor you may be using, if you're using Spring, if you're using vanilla Java EE is still very important. Okay, all right. And the thing that I have always found the most encouraging about Java EE is that it's not about a single API, it's not about a single vendor, it's not about a single product. It never has been. Right? This is the thing that I appreciate actually the most about it, even more than developer productivity. Okay, so there's a lot of implementations out there, all Java EE7 compliant, by the way. Okay, actually not all, I lie. So Apache Tom E is not yet officially certified, but it supports most of the Java EE7 APIs. And there's just a very large ecosystem of many different things, you know, plugins that build upon Java EE. It's just a very, very vibrant ecosystem. And that, in my view, is the most important part of Java EE. Okay. And in fact, there's one very, very interesting initiative that builds upon Java EE that is going on right now. I think Ivar will tell you a bit more about it. It's called the microprofile.
Yeah, Raza told us about the web profile.
Let me get you started.
Yes.
Okay. Java EE is not relevant in microservices, yes? Yeah, that's what we think.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Answer that question.
We've heard about the full profile and the web profile. And as you probably know, or if you don't know, then talk to Raza about it afterwards. There hasn't been very much going on in many of the Java EE specifications the last year. And this is a bad thing. And there has been a lot of community efforts to start to get it moving. One thing is Raza is going to tell you about the Guardians afterwards. And the other thing is the micro profile. And there are a couple of vendors here, like it's Red Hat and Tommy Tribe and Payara, IBM, the London Java user group,
and also
the Brazil user group.
Yep.
I think that's the members here.
Yep.
They've created something they call the micro profile, and that is a Java EE profile for microservices. And it has 3 specifications, and that's CDI, it is JAX-RS, and it's JSON-P. And they say that this is enough for making a simple microservice, and that is pretty much correct. And I'll do an entire talk about the microprofile on Java Day tomorrow. So if you're there, come to my talk and I'll show you
Not
lots
many
of
people
code
are going
demos.
to be here.
If you're not there, I'm sure it's going to be recorded and you can watch it afterwards.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about it?
Yeah, I'll talk about it. And it's you can see here the implementations of the microprofile. It's Wildfly Swarm. Has anybody tried out Wildfly Swarm? No. Have you heard about it? Okay, you should. And this is really cool stuff. Have you heard about Wildfly? Yes? Wildfly is the Red Hat open source application server for Java EE. And Wildfly Swarm is kind of the modules of Wildfly that makes you, with a couple of Maven plugins, that makes you able to do a runnable jar that spins up so much of the Wildfly application server that you need to run your application. For example, CDI, JAX-RS, and JSON-P. So you get a java.jar and your application, and it spins up these 3 components of Wildfly. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty similar to Spring Boot, the way you do it. Payara has also a couple of profiles. They have the full profile, they have the web profile. They also have the micro profile that they came out with, I think, last year. And this year, they announced the micro profile. So they have a Payara micro and a Payara micro profile. And that is a runnable jar that you just put your WAR file as an input to, and it spins up a minimum version of Payara with your application. And for those who don't know it, Payara is a company in the UK that provides support for Glassfish. So it's a fork from Glassfish.
And by the way, you can do the same thing with WebSphere Liberty.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that and Liberty is also the in the same era. They have this Java.jar
modularity.
Liberty modularity stuff, and they have Docker containers available. All of them have, so you can just download a Docker container and add your WAR file and be running. It's really cool. You should try it. They have Spring Boot has this website. You can go in and just click around what specifications you want to know and generate a project for you, kind of scaffold a project. Most of these have that as well. You go into their website and you just say, this is the application I want the microprofile, and generate, and you have a WebSphere Liberty project up and running in more or less 2 clicks and 5 seconds.
Okay. All right. Let me talk about this. Okay, so this is, yes, sir.
Is the microprofile production ready? Yes, I think if you can manage to create that simple microservices that you don't rely on anything else than these 3 specifications, I think the quality of these implementations are just as good as their Java EE alternative.
So just so you know, all of the implementations of microprofile now are release ready. Okay, no beta, alpha, or anything. They're all release candidates. Yeah.
If it's possible to use Java 8, yes, you can use Java 8, and all of these Java EE7 application servers you can use Java 8 with as well. So yeah.
I think
We're still talking about Java 8, or is it Java EE 8? Or
let me answer this.
Yeah.
So, first of all application servers out there now are actually certified against Java 8, which means you can use Java E7 with Java 8, Java SE8 with no problems. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. Okay. So because all of these implementations are derived from their parent application server, that means these runtimes are also compatible with Java SE8. Right? So you can use these with Java on a Java SE8 runtime. Okay.
Okay, the benefits of using the microprofile compared to Spring Boot, or Java EE in general compared to Spring Boot. Both of them. The microprofile. I think that Spring Boot probably supports more specifications, if you can call it that today. The microprofile supports these 3 specifications.
So to answer your question, you know, the benefit of generally Java EE and microprofile is that it's a known set of APIs that is agreed upon, right? So it's not a lot of APIs. It's very specialized APIs, so it's much simpler. Okay, so there's not as much learning curve. It's like you want to do persistence. What's your choices? Well, you have JPA. You want to do REST services. Okay, JAX-RS. That kind of thing. Okay, it's targeted specialized APIs. Number 1. Number 2, the benefit is these guys are compliant with each other. Okay, so that means that if you're writing a microprofile compliant application on Payara, you can port it to Wildfly Swarm, right? Same benefit as Java EE application servers. If you're writing a vanilla Java EE application, you're not tied to a vendor. Same difference here. You're not tied to a vendor if you're writing to the microprofile. Yes, sir. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Any other questions on microprofile or any of the other material that we talked about so far? No. Okay. This is good, right? So keep it interactive. You know, we keep talking about things. Okay. Let me talk about the Java EE survey. This is actually something I'm very proud of doing. Okay. So generally, let me tell you how Java EE release planning actually happens. And this is some insider secrets I'm sharing with you. Generally, the way Java EE planning happens is that there is an architecture board in Sun and Oracle, and every single before they spin up a release, and frankly, this happens with Java SE also. Okay, same thing happens with Java SE. You know, these guys sit down and talk about, okay, you know, what features are we going to put into the next version of Java EE? Okay, so this was not the case for Java EE 8. Okay, so in Java EE 8. The features that went into Java EE 8 was not determined by, you know, somebody in Oracle behind the scenes that you never meet. Okay, it was actually determined in the open, okay, through an open survey that anyone could fill in, and in fact 4,500 input points were in that survey. Okay, so that survey was run for about 3 months. It asked about questions of, okay, what would you like to see in Java EE, all right, and you can actually still see the results there. Right, so you can see the results of the Java EE 8 survey, and you can see how Java EE was actually determined. Okay, so there was a whole bunch of questions that were answered, and that's how the scope of Java EE was determined. I think Java EE 8 was the most community-driven standard, okay, standard scope that was that has ever taken place anywhere. Okay. So this is in general the scope of the original scope of Java EE 8. Okay, through that survey. Okay, these were the things that developers said that they wanted. All right, so they wanted HTTP 2.0, support for HTTP 2.0, support for server sent events. Okay, and we'll talk about each of these things. Better support for JSON, both in terms of JSON B and JSON P. Developers also wanted an alternative to JSF, okay, and we'll talk about this in a second as well, what this is. But they wanted an action-oriented web framework as opposed to a component-oriented web framework, which is what JSF is. They also wanted a security overhaul. This was actually very popular. This was the most popular item in the Java 8 survey, is improving Java 8 security, making it simpler, making it more portable. CDI2 was there already, but CDI2 was actually also determined by a survey. They wanted EJB services outside of EJB. Okay, so EJB today has a bunch of services with it. You know, scheduling, asynchronous processing, security, transaction management. Okay, so they wanted more of those services to come out of EJB and be available generally in CDI as well. They wanted JCache. Okay, they wanted a revision of JMS. And what was also very obvious to your question, okay, is to align the entire platform with Java SE 8. Okay, to make sure Java SE 8 features are fully used and fully taken advantage of in Java 8. So that was the original scope. Okay, so you notice I have some color coding here. Okay, so there are some new things that Oracle is talking about for Java 8 now. Okay, and we'll talk about later about how this happened. But the new things that Oracle is talking about now is configuration and health check. Okay, and we'll talk maybe talk a bit later about what these things actually mean, and also possibly support for OAuth and OpenID in addition to the security enhancements. The things that they want to drop right now is dropping the action-oriented web framework, dropping the pulling out of EJB services out of EJB, dropping JCache and dropping JMS. Okay, so these are the changes that Oracle talked about in Java 1 2016. Okay, so we need I think we'll talk more about that towards the later part of the presentation, and maybe also talk about what this means to you and what you can do, okay, to influence this. Okay, these changes, by the way, are not happening in a vacuum either. Okay, these changes are also being driven by community opinion, and there is a survey out there right now, okay, that will allow you to weigh in on this. Actually, let me give you the survey URL right now. Maybe you can check it out. Let's see, get out of this. Okay. Oh, too fast. Okay, this is the URL. Glassfish.org or glassfish.java.net, whichever one you want, /survey. It's as simple as that. Okay, and when you click on here, I have already finished it. Sorry, so I cannot fill it out twice. But you can actually provide your opinion, okay, of what you want. And this survey is going to be open until the 21st. Okay, so not a lot of time left. So if you want to give your input, you should do that. But we'll talk more about the survey in a second. Actually, towards the end of the presentation. Yeah. Slideshow. Okay, so I think I was originally going to talk about Servlet 4. I've been talking for a little while. You want to talk about Servlet 4? It's your choice. No. All right, no problem. Okay, let's talk about Servlet 4. The biggest feature in Servlet 4 is support for HTTP 2.0. How many people know what HTTP 2.0 is? Okay, so this is not a good thing. You really need to know what HTTP 2.0 is. HTTP 2.0 has taken 11 years, okay, for the standard to happen. What is it about? It is about performance, performance, performance. Okay, let's think about the web as it was when HTTP 1.0 came out. Anyone know what NSCA Mosaic is? No, it's the original web browser. Okay, so when in the HTTP, I'm really old, aren't I? Anyway, all right, it's okay. Okay, so when NSCA Mosaic came out, the web looked like Wikipedia. Okay, so when you click on a web page, all you really got was text, 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 some formatting, and hyperlinks. That's all. Okay, you click on a hyperlink, you go to another website that has a bunch of text, 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 maybe a picture or two, and a bunch of other hyperlinks. Okay, so it's a very simplistic way of doing programming. It's very ideal to the model that we have today. The model that we have today in HTTP 2.0, HTTP 1.1 is optimized for this use case. What is this use case? The use case is simply go get a resource. The resource is expected to be just one thing, namely an HTML file with some formatting in it. And then there's hyperlinks. When somebody clicks on a hyperlink, well, I'm going to make one more request and get that resource and render it on the page. This was the world of NSCA Mosaic. Okay. Does our web look like that anymore? No. Okay. Now when you load a page, any guesses what the average number of resources on a page is? 80. 80. Okay. So now, okay, trying to make use of this protocol in this very different world, that means that when you load a page, in order to make that page useful, on average, you no longer make just one call. You have to make 80 different calls. Okay, so it's a highly inefficient system. Actually, it's a very surprising. The web was designed for scale, and this is the proof. Despite the fact that we've outgrown the original use case, the web still continues to scale. It scales principally because it's stateless, but that's another matter. Okay, but it's not as efficient as it could be. Okay. So this is what HTTP 2.0 is. In HTTP 2.0, we're really looking at the web today, as it stands today, and figuring out what is the correct protocol for the web today. Okay, and if you do some benchmarking, and maybe if you come to my talk in HTTP 2.0, you'll see that simply by switching from HTTP 1.1 to HTTP 2.0, on your average website, you can get as much as 5 times more performance, without any programming changes on your own. Okay, you have your application the way it is, you just switch protocols, okay, and your web page is 5 times faster. Okay, so that's the general idea behind HTTP 2.0. How does it do this? Well, one of the these are the things that it does under the hood. The most important thing that it does is that it no longer assumes a single connection per request. Okay, it assumes that when you are going to load a web page, you're going to make multiple requests, and all of those multiple requests are done over a single connection as opposed to multiple connections. This is a very old idea called multiplexing. Okay, so now you're going to just open one socket connection between the client and the server, and all of those 80 resources, okay, will not be done over separate connections, but that one single connection. Okay, that's the most important change. Other than that, you can also prioritize these things. Okay, so when you're loading a web page, you can say, by the way, this image is more important than this video. Okay, the browser can render these values, get these values first, and try to start rendering these values first. Because on the server side, you can specify stream priorities. You can say this resource is more important than the other. Okay, and also binary. Okay, that the HTTP 1.1 is a text-based protocol. This is not. This is a binary-based protocol. What does that mean? It reduces what? Serialization, deserialization. It removes it, right? There's no translation, right? You're taking binary and you're rendering binary. Okay, there's no more parsing step. Server push is another one. Okay, so when you have those 80 resources, well, you can say when the initial request comes into the server can say, oh, by the way, you need 70, 80 more resources. Here, I'm giving it to you right now. You don't have to ask for it. Okay. The other one is header compression. I won't talk about it in more detail, but it's a way of making headers much less verbose. It's taking advantage of the fact that all of these resources are interrelated. Okay, so if they are interrelated, then you don't need to repeat header values like you do today. Okay, so a bunch of optimizations, all actually done mostly at the protocol level. Okay, so no API changes for you. Okay, same thing we hope to be able to do with Servlet 4 as well. Okay, so Servlet 4 should be mostly zero cost for you. Your APIs will simply remain the same. If you want to take advantage of things like server push, yes, you're going to have to opt in, okay, to make those API changes. But the basic idea here is that you simply switch your servlet engine from Servlet 3.1 to Servlet 4, and you get 5-fold performance increase. Okay, any questions on any of this? Yes, sir.
But for modern applications, it's very common to have like JavaScript and CDN or something like this.
Mm-hmm.
If there is any way to fix it, or otherwise it will be multiplied constantly.
So
most applications are actually required to move also data in our server.
So if you are using, let's say, if you're using JSF, okay, in JSF you can specify that this particular JSF page actually depends on this this JavaScript file, this resource image. These are all JSF resources, which means in case of JSF, you don't have to do anything. JSF will know on its own. Now, what if you're not using JSF? Yes, then you have to basically manually in your write servlets to say, okay, please use server push for this, or you can try to configure your HTTP server to do that. Right? So in Apache web server level, you can say, okay, when I load this particular page, please make sure to also load these resources as well. Okay? Yes, sir.
Are there some comments in HTTP2 in addition to HTTP1?
Repeat that question, please.
Are there some additional comments in HTTP2?
Additional. Commands? Commands. Okay, no. The syntax is literally no change at all, right? So same HTTP get post and with the same exact syntax. Okay. And yes, sir. JavaScript can kill Java? I beg to differ, but that's okay. All right.
One question. So if you want to move to HTTP 2.1, we must go to the modern servlet API version, yes? And this is all what we need.
Yes.
All functional.
Not all. 90%. 90%. Everything except for server push.
Between, for example, user use
then you cannot use it, because what happens is the browser and the server negotiate, right? Both the browser and the server need to both support HTTP 2.2. Otherwise, what happens is you just downgrade back to HTTP 1.1. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Let's move on. All right. Now I'm tired, so Ivar is going to cover this one. Yes, sir. In my talk, yes, but do even if you don't come to my talk, do a Google search on HTML5 demo. You'll see it for yourself.
Okay, so how many uses JSON in some form today? All of you. Do you parse it manually, or you use some kind of API for it? Yeah, and if you're looking at a couple of years back, then all JAX-RS APIs or all REST resources were XML based, and you had JAX-B that automatically parsed all the XML to and from your REST resources into Java objects. And when JSON came along, it kind of just hooked in on that one. Today, if you want to do some special things outside the just regular properties, then you need to have some XML JAX-B annotations in your code. And with this, the new version of JSON-B, you can get rid of that and use the real JSON annotation for it, such as JSON property, JSON transient, if you don't want to serialize it, and so on. So what's actually being done in the application servers today is that they use some kind of third-party product like Jackson or Moxie, or depends on which server you're using, to do this for you. And you maybe need to have some third-party annotations in your code to be able to do the special things. But this is more or less it's an improvement of this API to make it more easier to use, just as JAX-B is today. So in this new world, you'll just have a simple class. And,
no annotations,
no
nothing.
annotations,
Yep.
no nothing, just get the JSON out of it.
So the basic idea here is to make JSON a first-class citizen, almost like another serialization mechanism for Java, right? So everything will just work by default. You know, whenever you pass it through JAX-RS, it will just work without you having to do anything at all.
So it's about simplification and just doing the way it should have been done from the beginning. Yeah.
Okay, so besides the JSON binding API, okay, again, JSON binding API is, think of it as basically automatic serialization, just like Java serialization. But there's also an API that was added in Java E7 called JSON P 1.1. The problem is you can't always get away with binding, okay, and there are some cases where actually manual parsing makes more sense, okay. In fact, the JSON binding API uses the JSON P API under the hood, just like you have XM JAX-B and then you have a JAX-P API. So things like DOM and SAX on those sorts of things, okay. So in Java 8, the proposal is to continue to improve the standard support in the JSON P API. There's two specific standards that actually need better support. One is called JSON pointer and the other is called JSON patch. I'll show you how many people know either JSON pointer or JSON patch. Okay, not many. Okay, one. Good. All right. So this is what JSON pointer is. What does it look like? XPath. Yeah, it's simply XPath for JSON. Okay. So that's the long and short of it. Right, it allows you to navigate a JSON document without manually needing to look through stuff. Okay, so adding support for this and hopefully adding support for this in JSON P 1.1. Okay, the other one is called JSON patch. How many people know what HTTP patch is? Does anyone know that there's an HTTP patch API? Okay, Command, yeah. So what does HTTP patch do? Anyone can anyone tell me? What is its purpose? Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So yeah, without resending your entire object back. So I'll repeat his answer, which is exactly correct. So the purpose of HTTP patch is to change a particular part of your HTML, your server resource. Okay, to say please make this particular change without necessarily repeating the entire original object. Okay, so this is really nothing much more than HTTP patch applied to the JSON world. Okay, so this is how it looks like. Right, it itself is actually a JSON document. Okay, so what it does is stuff like this. Okay, so it says operation. What kind of operation do you want? Well, I want a replace. Okay, and by the way, this uses JSON path. Okay, so what I'm saying here is that please replace the value that is found at this path. Okay, and execute that against a particular JSON resource. On the second one, I'm saying, okay, please remove, the second element, whatever the second element may be. Okay, so there's many different operations that you can perform: add, replace, move, copy, and test. Okay, so these are all of the operations that are available to you in JSON patch. So the idea here is to allow you to have an API that will let you do this. Okay, so basically you apply that particular change, and the change is applied for you via the JSON-P API. Now, hopefully, some of these two features will actually be surfaced to JSON-B as well. Okay, the JSON-B spec is actually interested in doing this. It's taking these basic features in JSON-P and making a higher level annotation-based one. Okay, annotation-based version of it in JSON in the JSON binding API as well. Okay.
Okay, so server-side events, it's for the JAX-RS, and there are already, are you using Jersey somewhere?
Jersey.
Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah. So are you using server-side events feature that is there? No.
Very few. Yeah.
No. What this basically means, it's another simple thing actually. It introduces a new content type, an event stream, and it more or less just makes you able to push events over that connection. So it's not WebSockets and it's not HTTP2, but it's something in between, more or less. I think we have some examples. And the way it's thought to be implemented in JAX-RS, I know there are some changes going on in that expert group. They're just starting discussing things right now, but this is how they thought about it. That you have your JAX-RS resource that produce a event stream, and then there is an event output object, so you just send stock quotes to as long as you have something to send. And the same thing on the client side. If you have a Java client for a JAX-RS, are anybody using the JAX-RS client API? Yes? So if you're consuming JAX-RS services, REST services, and they are using server-side events, then you just have this inbound event so you can read the data from, more or less. So it's an API for the server side and the client side. Yep. And a new...
So this API, just so you know, is virtually a copy of what's in the browser. Okay, there's a browser API for SSE. It looks almost exactly like this. You can use it. You can use the browser API today. Obviously, it was part of the HTML5 standards. Okay, I think you should cover MVC.
Yeah. The reason why I said that is I'm on the expert group for MVC, and we thought it would be fun if Raza took it, but I can do it. As you know, MVC is one of the specs that Oracle wants to remove from Java EE 8, and we're kind of working on either getting it in again because we think that this is a good thing to have in the specification, or as an alternative, we want to run it as a separate spec that isn't bound to the life cycle of Java EE. And this is maybe the better option because then we can release it more often. And we're not tied on to the release cycles of Java EE. But we're working on it, and we'll see what the survey says. If the community dooms it out, then we'll just put down the work. But it's kind of sad because it's already almost there. It's a working implication, lots of samples out there, and it works with you can use it today if you want. So what we do about this is, first of all, it's an action-based MVC framework. And does anybody know the difference between a component-based framework and an action-based framework? No. A component-based framework is like JSF, where you have the framework is the controller, and you just implement the views and the logic around it. But in an action-based framework, you have more fine-grained control, and you as a developer develop the controller. Take Spring MVC as an example. That is an action-based MVC framework. And MVC for Java EE is very similar to Spring MVC. So if you're used to Spring MVC, you'd see that this is more or less the same. We're using CDI. We have all the support from the platform, bin validation by default. The view technologies, the specification says that it has to support facelets and JSPs. The reference implementation today, which is called OSARC, supports, I think it's 10 or 12 different view types. You can use ASCII doc or FreeMarker or whatever, and it's very easy to write your own view engine if you want to. And most importantly, it's based on JAX-RS. And that means that you write it just as you would do a JAX-RS application. You would need a @controller annotation to show that this is actually an MVC controller. And this can be on the class level, or it can be on the method level, because it's every method in a JAX-RS in this resource is a controller. So if you put it on method level, you can mix your JAX-RS resources with your MVC controllers in the same class if you want to. I wouldn't say it's always a good idea, but you can do it for smaller applications. And we have a couple of other annotations, like the @view annotation. You can just say that this is the view we want to render. And then your controller methods can actually be void, if you want. We have support for cross-site request forgery and also a new scope, so you can do the post redirect get pattern. And we're also, at the moment, adding internationalization support.
You have a question?
We have questions. The @get annotation. The @get annotation is an annotation from JAX-RS. And @get means that this one responds to an HTTP GET method. You have an @get, an @post, an @put, and @delete. Yes.
But that method implies transmit of some data. Where are they?
The
List of items.
the list of items is what you return here. I don't think this is actually an example that would run. I think this is old, so I don't think this is, or I know that this isn't correct, so you shouldn't actually look at the code sample here. The correct thing to do here would be to inject the list items using the @inject annotation. And then you, from the view, can access this list of items.
So it's actually all void?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can also return the view, just a string, just the name of the view. Any more questions about MVC? If you like MVC, go to the survey and vote for MVC.
All right. I think let me talk about Java EE security. I actually had something to do with launching this JSR. When do you need to go?
I actually need to go 2 minutes ago, so I'll run to my call, and Risa will take good care of you. And make sure those of you asking most of the questions get your USB, and
Yep.
I'll be back in a short
Yep.
time. Thank you.
Okay. Java EE security was actually one of the most voted for in the Java EE survey. I'll tell you why. So in previous versions of Java EE, I'll explain to you how Java EE security works today. Okay. Java EE security actually, for the most part, relies upon GUI wizards. Okay. So when you want to set up let's say you want to secure your application against a database, the expectation is that you are going to go into like the application service console and just go through a wizard, okay, that allows you to do that. You know, say, okay, this is my application, please secure it against this database, this is its JNDI name, this is its connection information, you know, and so on. So what in the Java EE application, you actually don't do very much. All you say is that, hey, I want this application secured, I want this is the authentication type I use, let's say basic authentication or form-based authentication, and then you also say, okay, you know, secure these URLs with this role, okay, and other than that, you know, the actual authentication setup, you know, the actual role mapping, all of that is assumed to happen through some kind of application server specific wizard. That, in my opinion, is actually a pretty nice feature, okay, and there's not that many technologies out there that will allow you to do that. The only other technology that will allow you to do something similar is .NET via IIS. They also have the similar feature. You don't actually code all of these things. You just, you know, you use a GUI wizard to do all of those things. Well, the problem with that approach is two things. Number one is that it is always application server specific. Okay, it's up to the application server, you know, how they want to implement this wizard and so on. So it's not very portable. So you can't take a Java EE application and immediately expect to port it from, let's say, from JBoss to WebLogic or vice versa, because there's some differences on how those GUI wizards actually look like. Okay, and the other thing is this takes control away from developers. Okay, so basically the way it's actually designed this way, the reason it's designed this way is because the application, it is expected that the application developer should simply say what they want and then give it to the admin, and the admin will take care of the rest through the admin GUI wizard. Okay, so obviously it takes a little bit of control away from developers. So this is why I think why the Java EE security API in the survey was so popular. Okay, so what does it actually attempt to do, the Java EE security API? Well, first and foremost, it simplifies security a lot, because you no longer need you're no longer really dependent upon the application server's wizards. Everything that you need is embedded within the application. Okay, and as a result, the application is far more portable. Some specific things that are in there, I'll show you examples of each of these, are simple security providers, simple pluggability, I'll talk about that also, enabling existing annotations for all beans. So today these roles allowed or deny all and all these annotations are actually specific to EJB. So as part of this specification, the idea is to make these features all available to all CDI beans. There's also a very interesting EL enabled security annotations, I'll show you that in a second, and also standards based support for OAuth and OpenID. Today you can do OAuth and OpenID, again it's application server specific, or it is specific to a framework like Jersey. So Jersey provides support for OAuth, but it's Jersey proprietary. Okay, it's not standards based support. So these are the kind of things that we want to do. Okay, so after this specification is done, if you want to secure your application, you should need to do nothing else other than, you know, put an annotation like this somewhere in your application. That's it. Okay, so you simply say, hey, please secure my application against the database. You know, these are the configuration parameters for it, or secure it against LDAP, or secure it against OAuth. That's it. Okay, you simply put that annotation in. All right, so that's one of the big features. It won't provide you everything, just the most common things. Okay, so embedded security, database, LDAP, OAuth, and OpenID. Okay. Now the problem is what happens if your security doesn't actually fit those common patterns. Let's say you're securing against some kind of proprietary data source that's very specific to you, or you have a database that legacy database that just doesn't conform to a format like this. Okay, what do you do? Well, today in Java EE you can solve this problem by writing a JAS module. Okay, the problem is there's two problems with the JAS module. Number one problem is it's a very old API. Okay, it's not geared towards developers. It's geared towards tool vendors. Okay, so let's say you are some kind of security provider. Let's say RSA. You can provide your own RSA JAS module. Okay, so it's a little bit hard to develop a JAS module. Number one, and the other problem is the JAS module is deployed outside the application on the application server, not with the application itself. Okay, so how do you solve this problem? You can solve this problem by doing something like this. Okay, so it's a very simple component that's registered with the application server. You just take your POJO and put in the security provider annotation on it. And what this means is this now becomes a security provider for you. Okay, so whenever there's security, this is the security provider that the application will use for you. Okay, and you can have some simple methods like on authentication and on authorization. All right, so that's the idea. Beyond this, we also want to expand the roles allowed annotation to allow something like this. Okay, so right now in Java EE you have two options. You can either use roles allowed, which is really nothing much more than saying, you know, for this particular method, please allow only these roles to execute this method, or you can write your own security interceptor. Okay, if you write your own security interceptor, then you can do whatever you want. Okay, you can inject the authenticated principal. You can look at the principal and do whatever it is that you need to authenticate to authorize your particular method. Now you can do something in the middle. Okay, that is not as declarative as roles allowed, not as restrictive, and not as complex as writing your own security interceptor. Okay, how do you do that? Well, the way you do that is you can take advantage of EL. Okay, so in the EL, notice that you're doing just a little bit of custom development, not a lot. Okay, just a little bit of custom authorization logic. So this is yet another feature that could potentially go into the Java EE security API. I think once, if this goes into the security standard, basically let's assume now that let's assume for a second, okay, that you know Tom EE or Tomcat supports these features. Well, now you don't have to worry about a third-party security library or application service specific configuration or anything like that. You just use these few annotations and you can secure your application. Okay. So I think it's a pretty interesting API. The next one that was proposed for Java E8, and this is one of the things that Oracle is actually proposing dropping, okay, is JMS 2.1. So what is the idea here? The idea here is actually that you can do messaging today. You can do messaging today in Java EE using MDBs. Okay, there's really nothing per se wrong about MDBs. The problem is the MDB syntax is a little bit verbose. It works, but it's verbose. Okay, and also in the process of simplifying the verbosity, simplifying the syntax of MDBs, what you can also do is standardize some things that are today non-standard. Okay, so these are things like redelivery delays. All JMS providers actually provide this. They're just application server specific. Redelivery limits, dead letter queues, not dead message, but okay, dead message queues or dead letter queues, whatever you want to call them. Okay, these sorts of things can also be standardized. Okay, let me show you an example. So in the idea here is to provide just a very specific annotation, okay, that's very DSL like. Let's say for example JMS listener, okay, and that will provide you not a bunch of activation configuration property settings like you do in MDBs today, but very specific things. Okay, this is my destination, this is the selector I want, and so on and so forth. But that's actually just the beginning. Now that you have a DSL-like syntax like this, you can do more things with it. Okay, so for example, I have an example here of batch delivery. You could do that right now. You can say, okay, for my JMS listener, don't give me messages one at a time. Okay, give me messages in batches of 10. All right. You can also specify again things like retries, retry delays, dead letter queues, ordering of batch messages and the like. Okay, and you can do it in a very powerful way that every CDI bean out there can use it. Okay, so I have an example of a max concurrency, and it's an application scoped CDI bean as opposed to an MDB. So that was the basic idea behind JMS 2.1. Okay. CDI 2 is also included in Java SE, Java E8. The basic actually big ticket feature is to allow CDI to be used outside of Java E in a Java SE environment. Okay. Actually, you can do this today. So all implementations like Weld, there's actually a Java SE API that allows you to bootstrap it from the Java SE API. So the basic idea here is to actually allow a standard API, okay, to do bootstrap, and also define what works in Java SE versus what works in Java E. Slightly different feature sets. There's a few other things that actually have went in CDI 2 as well. One of it is asynchronous events. I'll show you an example of that. At startup for CDI beans. So at startup today is only for EJB beans only. Okay, so this allows you to start a bean, okay, when the application starts. So you can now use at startup with CDI beans as well, not just EJBs. And also some simplifications to the portable extensions SPI. The portable extensions SPI is actually one of the most interesting parts of CDI because it allows you to write CDI plugins very easily. Anyone can write it. You can write a CDI plugin for your application with literally 10 lines of code using the CDI SPI. Okay. I'll show you an example of the proposed change of asynchronous events. Today, events in CDI are synchronous, which means when you fire an event, it blocks until the event is delivered to all of its recipients. Okay, so the API today looks like no async, so just fire. Okay, so you fire an event, the event is injected up there. Okay, it's a typed version of the event object. Okay, you fire it by saying event.fire, and then you observe it by using the @observes annotation. So no async equals true anymore, just @observes. Okay, so the proposed change is to add asynchronous support now, and the way you do that is on the firing side you simply say fire async. Okay, so don't deliver this message synchronously, please deliver it asynchronously out of band. And similarly, you can do the same thing on the observer side also by simply saying observes async equals true. Okay, so that listener will become asynchronous as opposed to being synchronous. Okay, so those are the two changes that have gone in. Similarly, one of the things that was proposed is to use all of the EJB annotations like @schedule and @asynchronous outside of EJBs in CDI. Okay, so that allows you to, for example, define stereotypes just like this. So you can compose the @schedule annotation or @asynchronous annotation in your own component type. Okay, so let's say I want to define a component type called monthly task. Okay, so this is actually something that Oracle is not wanting to do now. Okay, but this could have been done. Okay, so beyond all of this, actually the other thing that that was proposed change for Java E8 is to fully align Java E8 with Java SE8. Okay, so the good news is you can actually use most of the JDK 8 features with Java E today anyway. Okay, so the most interesting things like lambdas, okay, you can just use with Java E8. Completable features you can use with Java E7. Okay, and in fact all of the application servers out there are certified against JDK 8, so you can use JDK 8 features with your Java E7 applications. The problem is there is a certain set of features that actually can be put into the APIs themselves. Okay, I'll give you some examples. So one big example is repeatable annotations. Okay, so you can repeat annotations now. So previously, if you wanted to repeat annotations, you needed to put it in a wrapper annotation. So let's say an example would be this at schedule annotation. Okay, so if you wanted two different at schedule annotations on the same method, you couldn't do it. Okay, in Java SE7, you had to put it in a wrapper annotation called at schedules. Okay, so with Java SE8, you can actually repeat these annotations. All right, so this is something that could be adapted certainly in Java E8. The datetime API very similar. Okay, so right now if you want to use a datetime API with, let's say, JSF or JPA, you have to write your own custom converter. Okay, to do the conversion between the util date and datetime API. Okay, so this is another area of potential improvement for Java E8. In Java E8, JSF and JPA and all of the other APIs can simply support datetime API out of the box. Same thing is true of completable future. Okay, so today basically any asynchronous features in Java E are done principally either through futures, Java util future, or it is done through callbacks. Okay, so this can be improved upon. Now we have a better alternative to futures and callbacks. Okay, we have completable futures in Java SE8. So now we can adapt all of the places where we're using Java util future like EJB async. Okay, we can now begin to use completable features. So this is another proposed change for Java E8. Okay, there's actually quite a few features, quite a few APIs that are impacted by this change. I think completable features EJB would change, and also JAX-RS API. The JAX-RS client API has asynchronous features that could use completable future. Okay, so here is the problem. All right, so what has been happening, and we observed this as as you know, people like me and Ivar and a lot of other people, we work in Java E expert groups. Okay, we work in the platform JSR expert group. We work in the MVC and every single Java E API that's launched. There's people in the community that participate in these standards. So what we saw was that after Java 1 2015, okay, that means almost a year ago, right after Java 1 2015, Oracle stopped working on all specs, all Java 8 specs, not a single one. Okay, including things like Servlet 4, JPA, JAX-RS, all activity stopped. Zero activity. We didn't hear anything from Oracle spec leads, no work, we saw no work being done for them for almost a year. Okay, this is very dangerous. Remember I told you why Java E is important? Okay, doing this was going to be very, very bad for the industry. So what did we do? What we did was we formed an organization called Java E Guardians. Okay, you can check out the URL. It's called javae-guardians.io. Okay, and we said, this is what is happening, and it is not good. Okay, Oracle needs to do something about this to fix this problem. Okay, and that is how we organized. Okay, so we put pressure on Oracle, we put pressure on vendors to say, hey, you cannot do this. Okay, Java E is too important. There's too many things that are dependent upon Java E. Please solve this problem. And we did many things to help solve it as well, not just publishing a website and talking about these problems with the press, but we also tried to push Java E8 APIs forward. So MVC was one of them. Okay, one of the APIs that was pushed forward that way, just through the community. But finally, we actually had some kind of response from Oracle about 3 months ago. Okay, because of all of the pressure that we had put in Oracle, they finally said yes, we're going to start working on Java E8 again, and they committed to Java E8. Okay, so this is the situation now. So everything was good until Java 1 2015. Okay, so a bunch of the JSRs were launched, expert groups were formed, Glassfish 4.1 branch was created. Okay, almost all of the early drafts were published, and then after Java 1 2015, silence. Okay, so now we are delayed on public review draft, proposed final draft, final draft. All of these things were supposed to happen by now. Okay, but they didn't happen. So now what Oracle is proposing is that originally Java EE8 release was here. Okay, Q1, first quarter of 2017. So now what they're saying is, okay, we are going to deliver it, and you know the delivery date is going to be Java some calendar year, sometime during Java 1 2017. Okay, and as a bonus, okay, we will also provide Java EE9 in calendar year 2018. Okay, so now they've said, okay, we're going to increase the resources in Java EE, and we're going to still deliver Java EE8 sort of on time. Okay, even despite the fact that there was no work done for a year. And as a bonus, we'll start working on Java EE9, and we'll deliver Java EE9 in 2018. Okay, so that is where we are now. We're still seeing what Oracle actually does. We're still keeping an eye on the situation. So these are the kind of things that were actually proposed as part of Java EE8. Before I talk about this, let me sort of summarize the changes that Oracle proposed in Java 1 2016 for Java EE8. So they said we will deliver everything that we said, okay, except for JMS 2.1, okay, except for the MVC framework, and except for JCache. Okay, these are the three things that they wanted to drop, and they wanted to add two things. Okay, one is a health check API, and this is nothing much more than a way to ping your application server. Okay, ping your runtime, and the runtime will tell you whether it's FatJar or whether it's an application server. It will say, yeah, I'm alive. Okay, here's some statistics. I've been up since this amount of time, and so on. That's a basically health check service. Okay, the other thing that they're wanting to add now is something called configuration API. Okay, and that is a way to make configuration more dynamic. So Java EE configuration is basically static. Okay, so you configure your application through annotations, and after you deploy your application, well, that's your configuration. Okay, there's no changes to that configuration afterward. So now what they're proposing is they want to be able to dynamically change the application configuration after it was deployed. Okay, so change the XML values and everything in runtime. So those are the two things that they want to add in the Java EE8 timeframe. Okay, so now let's talk about Java EE9. So the kind of things that they want to add in Java EE9 is circuit breakers, dynamic discovery, FatJars using Java SE9, by the way, Java SE9 modularity. That's how they want to deliver FatJars. Support for NoSQL, support for multi-tenancy, support for state management, support for eventual consistency. And honestly, we have seen very little bit of detail. Okay, so they released just some very minor details on each of these changes. So we know a little bit of the details of circuit breakers, dynamic discovery, and FatJars. Those are things we understand what they are proposing. A lot of these other things, it's very, very vague. You know, there's no specific detail. It's just some ideas, and that's it. Okay, and these are not very specific ideas either. So, but what they have said is that they're not going to just do this. You know, they say these are proposed ideas. Okay, and they want everybody to now say what they think about these ideas. Okay, so again, the way you make your opinion known, okay, about what you think should be important in Java EE8 and Java EE9 is you go to that URL. Okay, the URL is glassfish.org/survey. Andre, do you have a website for the JUG?
Yeah.
Could you do me a favor? Please make a note of this URL, glassfish.org/survey. Okay, if you're a Java EE developer, if you're a Spring developer, if you're a Java developer, you should go to fill out this survey. Okay, definitely do that. All right. So that's it. Okay, for in terms of you know, the talk that I have, I'll give some time for additional Q&A. So Java EE is still important. Okay, no matter what you're doing, if you're doing any kind of server-side Java development, Java EE is important to you. Java EE had features that the community has asked for. There's been some serious problems in terms of Oracle's commitment to Java EE in general. But now it seems like, okay, they finally committed to Java E8 and Java E9, hopefully. Okay, so it will be nice if actually there is a delivery of Java E9 in 2018, okay, and a delivery of Java E7, Java E8 in 2017. We will see. Okay, we'll make sure that actually happens. And if you want to get involved, the time to get involved is now. Okay. So you can join us, like many of us are working on Java E8 expert groups. You can join our expert groups. Actually, we will help you. If you want a place to get started, okay, you can join the Java EE Guardians Google group, and we can help you get started. And there's all kinds of ways that you can get involved, and definitely get involved in Java E9 if that interests you. As soon as those JSRs are launched, but by all means, at least fill out the survey. Okay, that's it for me. I don't really have much more. If you have any questions, I will take some questions now.
Okay, let's use the microphone because we have live streaming. I will bring you.
Well, maybe it is a bit off topic, but I would like to ask about support of dynamic types. As far as I know, it was expected in Java 7. But this was not happen. So as far as I know, they supported at the level of bytecode, but not at the level of source code. And are they expected to be provided?
To be honest with you, I'm pretty sure that's never going to happen. I'm pretty sure. I'll tell you why I don't think it's never going to happen. In Java SE8, we finally have lambdas, right? Do you know when Sun actually started working on lambdas? Anyone know? When did the Lambda project actually start?
Maybe it's 2004.
2004. 2004. Okay. So lambdas were finally delivered in 2014. You know why? The JDK team was very, very unsure. Okay, that they wanted to add functional programming concepts into an object-oriented language like Java. Okay. And actually, lambdas are not that controversial, okay, in terms of adding functional programming to an object-oriented language. So one of the biggest examples was Scala. Okay, so Scala showed that yes, you can have an object-oriented language that can have functional features. Okay, dynamic languages, dynamic variables. Imagine that, right? If it took almost 10 years to support functional programming, when do you think dynamic variables are going to be supported? Right. That's why if I was to make a bet with you, I would be happy to make a very big bet that this is not going to happen. Okay.
Hi, my name is Max. I have one question for you. Your personal opinion is interesting for me. So, what's for you the future of Java Enterprise Edition? It is like a big Uber jars with the embedded container of Java EE, or it should be something like a lightweight modern application servers, like Wildfly?
So I'll tell you what. To be honest with you, I have absolutely really no complaints with the Java EE deployment model. I haven't had any complaints with it for many years since Java E5. The reason I like the application server model is because you just install it once, okay. And modern application servers are what? Usually around 150 megabytes, or if you want a web profile installation, it's 40 megabytes. Okay, it's nothing on a disk. What is 150 megabytes on disk when the size of the JDK is close to 150 megabytes? It's nothing. You install it once, everything is configured for you, everything is available. You stop worrying about it. You just write your code, and you write a very, very thin WAR file, and you deploy it. In modern application servers, these very thin WAR files deploy within orders of seconds, believe me. And I've written some pretty big applications, and they still deploy within seconds. It never crosses the minute threshold for me. Okay, So for me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, I don't know how you can make this any more simpler, right? The average size of my Java EE, vanilla Java EE WAR file never crosses anything above 50 megabytes, believe it or not, right? So this is very, very tiny. It's a very, very tiny deployment unit. For me, the application server model totally wins, okay? Now, some people will tell you, oh, you know, Docker and whatnot. Well, you can use, okay, you can use Java EE applications with Docker. You can go to Adam Bean's site. He will show you that you can use Java EE application servers with Docker and still have very fast deployments because you're using very thin VARs, okay? Now, let's get back to Uber jars. When do you need Uber jars? In my opinion, there's only two places where I can see you actually needing Uber jars and Uber jars being actually a useful thing, okay? Number one is you're deploying to a cloud environment that does not support Java EE at all, okay? There's no way you're deploying to a PaaS environment, so you don't have IIS. Well, if you have IIS, it doesn't matter. You install your application server, you install your Docker image, you're done. But let's suppose you're dealing with a PaaS environment and you need to deploy to a PaaS environment and all you have support for is Java SE, okay? In that case, you have no choice. Then you have to use an Uber jar and deploy your Uber jar to that PaaS environment. Let's say Heroku is an example of that. The other legitimate case where I would use an Uber jar personally is IoT machines, okay? So in an IoT machine, it does matter, okay? In an IoT machine, you don't have gigabytes of space. You literally still have only megabytes of flash disk space, okay? So in that case, it matters, okay? To having a 150 megabyte application server in that environment matters. So in that environment, you want an Uber jar, and that only uses the very specific pieces you want, so that you can cut down the size of your runtime to maybe 20 MB or 30 MB, okay? But it comes at a cost, believe me. When you're doing Uber jars, number one, your deployment size is now increased quite a bit, okay? Just a vanilla WAR file versus a Uber jar, big difference in terms of deployment size. Big difference in terms of the time it takes to deploy. Big difference in the time it takes to build, okay? So in my opinion, I don't like these Uber jar business unless I have a real reason to use it, okay? And I just told you just two reasons. Yep.
Okay. Question?
If Oracle still be so lazy in developing Java EE technologies in the future, what Java EE Guardians can do in that case?
Yes, so we've actually, we were very close to doing it, okay? So let's say, so I'll be very honest with you, we were waiting to see what Oracle said in Java 1 2015, okay? If we heard nothing from Oracle, this is what we would have done. I'll be very honest with you. First thing is we would have worked with the application server vendors and told them, forget about Oracle, let's move to a separate standards body, okay? In fact, that is already happening. You know, if you look at the microprofile initiative, they are still not sure that they want to standardize microprofile through the JCP, okay? They may standardize a microprofile through something like Oasis instead, okay? So that was always an option. Okay, if Oracle did not cooperate, that's the direction we would have taken with IBM, Red Hat, Payara, Tommy Tribe, and just said, forget about Oracle, we will create our own parallel server-side Java standard, number one. Number two is we also wanted to take over in the JCP, there are rules that will allow you to take over inactive specs. Okay, so that is something else we also pursued to say, okay, Oracle doesn't want to deliver on this, you know, forget about Oracle, give us control of these JSRs, okay? So I think the most important thing is that what we've proven in Java 1 2016 is that Oracle can be forced to cooperate, okay? Because they knew that if they did not cooperate, then we would have done these things and we would have done them without them, okay? So I think it's a good story overall. And there's still things that we can do. If Oracle continues to not cooperate with us, we can still have a server-side standard, we can still have vendor neutrality without Oracle maybe.
Okay.
Please, and one more question about Oracle's policy about Java EE. It seems to me that it will be a very strange situation if Oracle cancels support of Java EE. Now Oracle holds the full stack of Java technologies in the enterprise sector. And if Oracle cancels EE, then most of Java programmers will definitely migrate to Spring and other free market. And will be a reason for Oracle in such a situation to support SE without EE.
So first of all, as I told you, what IBM and Red Hat and Payara have clearly shown that they will not allow that to happen. Right? If Oracle does nothing, then there will still be a Java standard without Oracle, number one. Number two is, let's talk about Spring for a second. Spring, if you look at Spring commits, most Spring commits, 90% of Spring commits are done by Pivotal. Okay? So if Pivotal decided to do the same thing that Oracle is doing, there would be very few vendors that would be able to pick up so quickly. The big value of Java EE is that it is already multi-vendor. Okay, so if one vendor does not cooperate, then other vendors can immediately step in to do something. Okay, so to me, it's actually the current problems are actually a proof that Java EE and standards are more powerful than just locking your implementation to one vendor, because now you don't have the flexibility anymore. Who's gonna, again, hypothetically, let's say Pivotal is today acquired by Dell. What if Dell's management says, this stuff is not important to us? Okay, there's no vendor that's going to pick up Spring right away.
So my question, what do you think about Oracle Cloud initiative?
It's very good. Let me tell you why it's very good. It's always, so let me step back a second and let me explain to you the difference between AWS and Azure. Okay, AWS is a great platform. Does AWS have a specific developer community? No. Okay, they're in the business of selling cloud to whoever is going to buy it. Now let's think about Azure. Okay, the Azure platform is very targeted to who? Microsoft customers and .NET customers. Okay, so they are doing everything that they can to make sure that their customers and their .NET users have a much more easier to use experience than they would in Azure. They're making sure that the prices are cheaper, okay, for their customers than it is for Azure. So in my opinion, Oracle, if it's a smart company, will do the same thing. Okay, it can be the place to go for Java developers to say, hey, I want a cheaper price, I want better scalability, I want features specific to Java. Those features are not going to come from Amazon. Amazon doesn't care about Java developers or Ruby developers or .NET developers. They want everyone, right? So I hope that Oracle will want the Oracle Cloud to be the place where Java developers can go to get cloud support. That's my opinion.
So, and in continue, you have mentioned Amazon, another modern idea for web application development is serverless application.
Yes.
Does some micro profile or Java EE planning to do this kind of this?
Yeah, so Oracle mentioned that. As you know, doing serverless so let's step back a second. Yeah. The Java EE model is actually serverless in a way, right? Because you don't worry about what the runtime does. You just install the runtime and the runtime does whatever it is that it is going to do. So it is very easy to translate that model to a cloud environment and say, deploy your var, we will take care of all of the details for you. Think about your cloud as a big application server. It will take care of deployment, scaling, configuration, everything for you. So it's actually a very natural fit, right? But again, it's up to Oracle. They've mentioned serverless, but they have to execute on it. right? They have to say, they have to provide the usability, they have to provide the APIs in their cloud that says, here's my var, here's my JAX-RS endpoint deployed. I don't care about anything else or where you run it and how it's run.
So Oracle should provide some infrastructure for this.
For serverless, yeah, essentially. Serverless is, again, nothing much more than running your application without worrying about where you are running it.
About the state that you have set inside the session and
Yep,
so on.
exactly.
And I have remember that EGB has EGB remote stuff for building distributed application. Is there some plans to duplicate this stuff or in some way to re-implement in a modern way?
So the problem is, I'll explain to you the basic problem. The basic problem is, the reason REST is so popular is actually because it is interoperable. Okay, that's the real reason why it's so popular, is because you don't need any stack, right? You can, even if you are a PHP developer, you can write a REST endpoint, you can consume a REST endpoint. The problem with binary protocols is that there has not, since Corba, okay, there has been no standard binary protocol that is cross-platform. So if there was actually going to be some EJB protocol that actually works, it would have to be a standards-based binary protocol. Without that, it's no use. It's just going to be the same problem over again. So right now, I think for those reasons, the best choice is REST. I hope that there will be some standard effort that says, okay, now let's create a binary communication protocol that is actually supported by everyone. Yeah.
Yes, question.
One more question about future of Java EE. So suppose Oracle postponed some of the GSRs and Guardians start working on that GSRs or by themselves. But it means that the Java EE community may be separated into two different teams. And it also means that Java EE may lose its points over Spring Framework. So does it make sense to cooperate with Spring team and to make some similar GSRs like it was done for batch processing? Or
Okay, so please finish your question.
yeah, that's pretty all.
Okay, so again, out of all of this, notice what has happened. The entire Java EE community is actually divided, has been divided since Java 1 2016, but look at the divisions. It's Oracle versus everybody else, okay? So if Oracle does not cooperate, can there be fragmentation? Yes, but the fragmentation will look like Oracle versus everybody else, okay? So it's not so much fragmentation as opposed to exiting, Oracle's exit out of a collaborative process, number one. To answer your question about Spring specifically, I'll be very honest with you, I have tried many times for them to come to the JCP to work on things like MVC framework, okay, work on CDI 2.0, work on, what was the other thing? I am now SSE, okay, work on JAX-RS. So forget about their own API and just adopt JAX-RS as a standard. The Spring team is very reluctant. Okay, very reluctant. They don't, they don't want their official policy is that standards don't matter. Okay, so this is a very dangerous way of thinking. So I would like for Spring to become a standards organizer, come to the JCP. I would love for them to come to if there's a new JCP, I would love them to become a key player in this. but don't tell me. Okay, tell them. Tell them that standards matter.
So you can tell this tomorrow to Jürgen Holle and Stephanie Nicol.
I don't know exactly who supports Spring at all. It is an open community or some companies support it.
Who is behind the Spring?
Right. So let me answer that question for you. The biggest thing to provide support is being a committer. Okay, you can take an open source product and say I support it, but if you don't have committers, what are you supporting, right? Right. So what are you supporting if you don't have committers on that project? Take a look at the somebody else has done this previously. Anyone of you can do this today. Analyze who are the committers on Spring projects. Okay. Last time this was checked, it was 99.9% only one company. Okay. This is not a good situation, right? Maybe there needs to be another company that says we are committers of Spring. Take Spring out of Pivotal and put it in a foundation. Okay. Do you realize this? You don't realize this, do you? Cloud Foundry has a foundation. Does Spring have a foundation? No. Okay. Spring is just an open source product owned by a single company. Yeah.
So one more questions? Maybe some suggestions, some own thoughts regarding Java EE future. By the way, who using Spring here? So who is using Java EE? Okay. So okay.
So let me ask you a follow-up question. How many of you are using at least one Java EE API?
Maybe everybody.
Okay. Whether you realize it or not, you're probably at least using Servlet.
Yeah. Because this is the only way in Java in which you can write web applications. So if you have no questions, Raza and
Let me do the
Yeah,
giveaways.
yeah.
I think you deserve this.
and you will.
Okay, and let me. There was one. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. You. Would you like the NetBeans? All right. Yeah. Hold on to it. Maybe you can sell it on eBay at some point. Okay. I think. Please do me a favor. I haven't kept track of everyone that asked a question. Can you please raise your hand?
Please.
Anyone that asked a question. Okay. Here. Oops.
And I will bring to the.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Not full, but another question: what will be with NetBeans and Glassfish? I know that Glassfish has also stopped to development, and why NetBeans decide to go to Apache?
So that's a very good question. So Glassfish is picking up now, right? So Glassfish will still be the RI for Java EE 8. So that the Glassfish story is, I think, good now. In my opinion, actually, the NetBeans story is also good, right? So basically, if you want the truth, I mean, obviously, Oracle is giving NetBeans to the community because Oracle no longer cares about NetBeans. Okay, so Oracle has said that it will support NetBeans at least for 2 more major releases. Okay, so NetBeans 9 and NetBeans 10. They've announced commitment to those releases, and that basically corresponds with Java SE9 and Java EE 8, or maybe Java EE 9. Okay, after that, Oracle has not committed to NetBeans anymore. Okay, who knows if they continue their commitment or not. But to me, it's actually an opportunity. Okay, it's an opportunity for the community to step up. In a way, you know, Oracle is a very difficult company to give up IP, intellectual property. So in a way, it's good. You know, now if there's maybe some of you, okay, now if you want to develop an IDE, well, you don't have to develop an IDE from scratch. Okay, you have a code base that has been developed for almost 15 years. Okay, and you can pick up and create your own IDE. Okay, you can create your own Java IDE and you can become the next IntelliJ. Okay, this is not a joke. It can be done. Okay, if you have the manpower and the willingness, and if you want to pursue a business idea, this is an opportunity. I hope there's going to be at least 1 or 2 companies that do that. Okay, so I think I'm a fan of NetBeans. I really like the IDE. I think it's much better than Eclipse. It's about the same as IntelliJ. I hope there's a company, at least one company out there that does this, that says, okay, I will take the code base that Oracle has released and I will continue that code base and provide maybe some kind of commercial idea on top of it. Okay.
So we have one more USB who would like to ask questions.
Actually, we have quite a few more.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yep, please. Can you pass it backward?
What do you think about JavaScript engine Nashorn comparing to Google V8? How it will be developed in Java SE 9?
Could you, Andrei? You were standing closer to him. What was the question?
The question was regarding Nashorn JavaScript engine inside Java SE.
Oh, horrible idea. Horrible idea. Yeah. I mean, I've had this discussion over and over again, right? The Java EE team actually developed some kind of Node.js clone called Avatar, okay, that they tried to sell. And when I went to conferences and I said, Avatar, great framework, Java developers, please use it. You know what they told me? It's like, I'm a Java developer. Why do I want to develop Java on the server side? I went to JavaScript conferences and said, hey, Avatar, this great thing. You can use JavaScript and Java. You know what they told me? I'm a JavaScript developer. What do I want with Java? Okay? So it's in my mind, it's a complete waste of time. Complete waste of time. If you want to be a JavaScript developer, go be a JavaScript developer. Okay? If you want to talk to Java, you have a REST API. You can invoke a REST endpoint to invoke Java. Why do you want to run JavaScript and Java in the same VM? What is the value? Right? There's no value.
So, okay, if you will have the other questions, Raza is here and you can catch him after our meeting and ask him the questions. So, thank you for coming, thank you for listening to us in live streaming. See you after Java Day conference, Java Day conferences on next JUG meetings. I think it will be in 2 weeks after Java Day. So thank you for coming and have a good evening.
Okay, one more thing I'd say. Honestly, this was my first time coming to your user group. I'm very happy to see that there's a user group in Ukraine and Kiev, and it's so vibrant. Please keep it alive. This is how you keep Java alive. Okay, keep coming to these meetings, speak to these meetings. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
All right, yeah.